Hey everyone, it's Coach Mark. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I know I am. I hope you guys are having a great week. So, anyway, in the last week or so, I've been reading quite a few books. I read about 5 or 6 books at a time, and I read for about 4 or 5 hours every single day. So, I'm always reading like tons and tons of books. But one book that really stood out to me, and it's a really small book, it's Mark Cuban's book. And in the book, he said something that really, really stood out to me. And it's a common theme that as all the research, all the interviews that I've done, especially over the last week, but I mean, really going back years and years, there's one common thread among all really, really successful people. The one thing that Mark Cuban says that we can control is our effort, right? That's the only thing that we can control. So, I mean, a lot of times when we're starting a business, there's going to be all sorts of other factors. And I think what happens with a lot of people is that they spend so much time focusing on all the things that they can't control. I did a video earlier today, if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, and I talked about how really the key is being effective and productive, not just busy. A lot of people that are broke always talk about they're busy, but if you are busy and you're not getting results, if you're getting the same results, then you're busy doing a whole bunch of stuff that you don't need to do, right? And I think a lot of times people end up focusing on a lot of things that they shouldn't focus on. I know for myself, like, I really had to sit down and kind of think about it and say, you know what? Where can I be more effective with my time? Because all these people that are really, really, really super successful, they have the same 24 hours in a day as I do, right? Time is our most important commodity because time is the only thing that we can't get back again. So we need to make sure that we utilize our time the right way. All right. So, kind of like going back to what Mark Cuban said, is that effort is the only thing that we can control. And Mark Cuban was talking about when he was getting his business going, he was literally working probably about what he said, 18 hours a day, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? I know for myself, when I was getting my first business going, same thing from sun up to sun. I mean, from the time I woke up, I got up in the morning, I brushed my teeth, I was at my computer doing work until the time that I put myself down and went to bed. Even now, now a lot of people think I'm retired, and I'm retired from my businesses, but I'm not retired from working. I'll never be retired. The only time I'm going to be retired from working is when I'm 6 feet under. So, I mean, from the time that I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do before I even get out of bed is I usually just reach over and grab one of my books, so I consider learning as a part of my working. And I probably read for about 2 to 3 hours before I even get out of my bed. But I'm pretty much working all day, every day, up until I go to bed at night. So I'm working 17, 18. I'm probably working more hours now than than any other time, or just as much as any other time in my life. I was reading about Elon Musk a little earlier as I was preparing for the Power and a Half Hour, and he was saying the same thing too. And he made a really great analogy. He was saying that when he was getting his businesses off the ground, especially his first business, Zip2, he worked. What did he say? For I think he said he worked 100 hours a week. And the analogy that he gave is that if the average person is working 40 hours a week and you're working 100 hours a week, what it'll take them a year to do, it will take you 4 months to do. So how much further will you be than everyone else? And what I've come to realize is that it's not that these guys are so much smarter than everybody else, right? We all want to think that, okay, there's all sorts of reasons why Mark Cuban is worth $3 or $4 billion, while Elon Musk is worth 12 point whatever $billion, while all these guys are worth so much more money and whatnot, right? They're lucky, they had all these sort of breaks and whatnot, and that's really not the case. What it is that they controlled, they focus on the one thing that they could control, right? Because you can't control the market, you can't control other people. You can't control your competitors. The only thing that you can control is the amount of effort that you put in. And the one thing that I can promise you is that if you put the work in, right? If you put the work in, you will get the success that you want. The only thing is that you can't control how fast it comes, right? But most people, they'll put a little bit of effort in for a little bit of time, and when the results aren't what it is that they want, they end up quitting. And obviously you're not going to get much if that ends up being the case. You just got to consistently put the work in if you want massive levels of success. Now, if you want to live an average life, then you go ahead and continue putting in the average amount of work. The average amount of work is 40 hours a week, right? 30 or 40 hours or however many hours a week. But anything more than that is what is going to get you to that massive level of success. And if you really want to get to that super millionaire and billionaire status, you're going to have to do some sort of sacrifice and really put in an extreme amount of work. And it's not just for a week or 2 weeks. It may be a year. It might be 2 years. It might be 5 years. It may be 10 years. You have to be really, really, really dedicated to really consistently putting in that work to really go ahead and get ahead. You know, if you put in 100 hours a week into whatever it is that you're doing, we talked about this a couple months ago. To get to mastery level, you need to put in 10,000 hours, right? So they say to get to mastery level. But if you're putting in 100 hours a week in learning in whatever your craft is, that's 100 hours a week, and there's 52 weeks in a year. That's almost five. That's a little bit over 5,000 hours a year into something, right? And if you're putting in 5,000 in 2 years, you should be at mastery level if you're applying and doing the right things. You're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of people just do the same things over and over and over again, so they really never ever reach mastery level, you know? So one thing that you can control, always remember this, is effort. And if you really want massive level of success, you got to put in a huge amount of effort. I think what happens with a lot of people is that they tend to compare themselves to their friends that just put in very, very little effort. You know, like I see people that's like, yeah, I'm really serious about my business. I'm going to put like an hour in today, and then they don't end up doing that. And then when you really go back and look at how much work they put in towards building their business or doing whatever it is that they want to do for the week, they may put in an hour or two, and they really think that they're doing it. And you're really not doing anything, right? Not when, if you're only putting in an hour or two a week, how can you compare to someone that's putting in 100 hours a week of solid work, right? And not unproductive work, right? Because it's not about just doing a whole bunch of busy work. It's like really figuring out how can you be super effective in what it is that you're doing. How can you double time? Like that's my real key right now. It's like everything that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be able to double my time to really squeeze more than 24 hours in a day. So when people come to me and say, hey, Coach Mark, I wanna meet with you, I'll be like, okay, cool, right? If it's someone that I need to go ahead and meet with, or that I can help, that I can assist, we'll meet, but we have to meet on my terms. We got to meet at my house, and we got to walk. So, because the two things that I always say that you can't pay anyone to do for you is learn for you and do your exercise for you. So I'm going to combine those two things together. So when I'm doing my exercise, I'm always learning. So I'm doubling up on my time, because I got to get my 4 or 5 hours of education in every day, and I got to get my 2 hours of walking. Is it probably about 2.5, 3 hours of walking in per day. So if I'm able to double that time up, I'm able to be so much more effective and efficient. So if I got to meet with somebody, I got to kill two birds at one stone. I very rarely will take meetings where we'll go somewhere and sit down somewhere. Only if somebody's cutting the check, right? If only someone's cutting a massive check, that's when I want to do that. And I've done it before in the past, but I'm really weeding myself out from taking those type of meetings, from now, unless it's a situation where I have no other control. But if I have control, I'm going to double up that time, because it's about being effective. It's about being efficient, and it's about being productive, not just busy, not just working for the sake of saying that you're working, right? So let's think about that, right? Let's look at the amount of effort that we're putting into what it is that we want to do, because that really, more than anything, is what determines success, right? A lot of these guys that are super, super, super rich and have attained massive levels of success, it's not that they're smarter, but they just putting in that massive level of effort, right? And they're putting it in, putting it in, putting it in, putting it in. They're failing just like everybody else, but because they're putting in so much effort, they're able to get to that finish line a whole lot faster. They have so much momentum, and they're able to get to where it is that they need to get a whole lot faster, and that's why they're able to get the results that they get. All right? I hope that does something for you. right? Just think about that for a little bit. Think about that. Go back and rewatch this video because everything that I said is so very true. All right. Thank you so much, and until next week.